In order to better illustrate how muted group theory works, I want to offer a graphic here. And I should explain that this graphic works with a very transmissive understanding of communication. So it's somewhat reductive, but it'll illustrate an important point about power and gatekeeping. So first of all, there is what we call the dominant worldview. And in muted group theory, this is, of course, the patriarchy. This is men. They get to design the language, they get to design the technologies, and they have control over both. Their message goes out into the world, but it doesn't just go out aimlessly. It is well aimed towards particular publics and successful articulations. The A's in this graphic represent articulations. You might think of those as messages that arrive in a way that can be readily understood. Nobody sort of cocks their head sideways like a puppy and looks mystified. In the muted group worldview, however, and this might be, as in this theory, women as a whole, or it might be black people, or it might be working class folk, or it might be the custodians of a high-powered corporation or something. But in any case, they are a social group that is unable to communicate effectively with audiences. So their messages go out, but the dotted lines would indicate that their messages do not arrive necessarily in a fashion that is understandable. They might as well not be saying anything for all the confusion that their manner of communication results in. So when we bring these two together, the dominant worldview and the muted worldview, if we put these two social groups together, what we find is that the dominant worldview is able to communicate swimmingly with its publics. The muted worldview, the people in that group are compelled to make use of the languages and the tools, the technologies, the devices, the approaches, the methodologies of the dominant worldview. And only as they do that are they able to communicate with publics. So a couple of observations. One is they might not even be reaching the publics that they want to, the audiences that they wish to, because they have to speak to the audiences that the dominant worldview is addressing. But secondly, they are unable to use their own terminology and their own ways of casting their experience. They are forced to use the dominant worldview's ways of describing things in order to communicate with these other publics and these other audiences. What that inevitably means is that there are things that get lost in translation. There are elements of the muted group. Their experience cannot be wholly communicated, or we might say effectively communicated, in the language of the dominant group. Things are lost in translation. So that's a graphic that helps to explain the relationship between the dominant group and its publics and the muted group, and how it is compelled to use as a sort of gatekeeper the dominant group. And let me know if there's any follow-up you wish for on this graphic, which I derived from the website firstlook.com.